This video is about sow farrowing and piglet processing. Some images may be graphic and contain blood. Sow gestation is 115 days, and there typically takes place in a gestation crate or in pen gestation. Once a sow is moved to the farrowing house and she gets closer to her farrowing date, she will most likely be injected with Lutalyse, which promotes the induction of parturition. 2 mils are typically injected within 3 days of the predicted farrowing. Oxytocin is also injected to promote parturition and is also used if the sow has slowed or stopped farrowing. 1/2 ml is injected in the crease of the vulva at 6 hours and 12 hours after Lutalyse shot, if she has not begun farrowing yet. Some signs of labor that take place in the farrowing house when they are close to the farrowing is they will not eat their last feeding or a couple feedings. They will be panting and distressed, or they will be nesting, which would be nosing the floors and biting the bars, as we can see in these videos. These are just the signs of discomfort and some pain due to the contractions. Some other signs of labor can be the discharge from the vulva. There will be a liquid discharge as she begins farrowing or right before farrowing. She may have milk in her udder, and she may be contracting and straining from the contractions. Sometimes, depending on how much milk she has, you can tell how close she is getting to farrowing. If she just has a little droplet like this sow does, it may be a little bit longer. But if she's actually has a good flow of milk, then she may be closer to farrowing. And not all of these signs are guaranteed, and you probably won't see all of these signs before a sow starts farrowing. Sometimes the older sows will start farrowing with very little signs of labor. So it really just depends on the pig. So as a sow is farrowing, sometimes she may need to be assisted, and that is usually done by sleeving the sows. So sleeving the sows is putting on a very large glove that will go up all the way up to your shoulder, and you will have to reach into the sow and feel for piglets that may be stuck. You want to wait to do this until she has at least had 1 piglet. You don't want to sleeve a sow that has not actively started farrowing yet. You also want to wait at least 30 minutes since the last pig's birth, or 30 minutes since you've sleeved the last time. So you want to give her at least 30 minutes to have a piglet on her own. Because over sleeving could cause vaginal prolapse if you sleeve too often. So always make sure that you record when you sleeve, and always wait 30 minutes between sleeving or from the last piglet's birth. So these videos will kind of show the steps of how to sleeve. So using the correct position of piglets is really important, because the sow's cervix is an oval, and so are the pigs. So first you have to make sure that the ovals are at the right angle. So you want to point the piglet's legs in the same direction the sow's legs are. So you can see on this left picture that the piglet's legs are pointing down and he's coming head first. So here you want to try to put your fingers behind the piglet's skull so that you can have a good grip to pull him out, because a lot of times it's really slippery and hard to pull piglets when it's all slippery. If he's coming feet first, again, you want to try to get him pointed the right oval, and then you want to grab his back legs above the hock. If you can get both legs, you'll have a better grip. I like to put a finger on either side of the outside of the legs and a finger between the legs, so that way you can have a better grip to pull them out. So a stillborn versus mummy, while she's farrowing, you can tell by the stillborn is on top here. You can tell it's a fully developed piglet, but it is just not living. On the bottom picture, on the bottom side of the picture, is a mummy. So the mummy died early on in the gestation process. So it was underdeveloped and just a really small skeleton. The stillborns will die during farrowing, so they're a fully developed pig. So it's really crucial to know when the sow is done farrowing. So you want to look for kind of an average litter size, which that can really vary from like 8 piglets to 18 piglets. So sometimes that's not always a guarantee. If you see that a sow has 15 piglets, she could have some more. So it's kind of hard to tell. You also want to look for a large amount of placenta that has been passed. So in the picture to the right is probably a small amount of placenta. There will be quite a bit of placenta for the amount of pigs she has. So you want to make sure that you record or remember how much placenta has been passed. You also want to look for that the sow is not straining anymore. If she is still straining, she could still have a piglet stuck, and you probably should sleeve her to make sure. A lot of times I like to sleeve once or twice to sleeve a sow without feeling a piglet. So if I think a sow is done but she only has 13 piglets and this farm may average like higher than 13, I will sleeve her after she has been 30 minutes without having a piglet. If I don't feel anything but I am not sure if she's completely done, I'll maybe sleeve her again in 30 minutes just to double check. And you can also use this because if you have a sleeve that is clean, like the picture in the bottom, there's not a lot of blood there, you can probably tell that she's done farrowing. But if that sleeve is full of blood, then she may still have some more piglets left in her. And it's very important to know when a sow is done farrowing, because if she's not done farrowing and there's still piglets left in her and she can't get them pushed out, that sow could die, and so would all the piglets inside of her. And then all the piglets that are alive will now have to be cross-fostered onto other sows because that sow died. It doesn't happen every time, but it is very likely and very scary whenever you have a sow that is not done farrowing. So colostrum versus milk. Colostrum is produced in the first 24 hours of lactation. It's much higher in fat and protein and contains nutrients and antibodies for the piglets. This helps develop the immune and digestive system in the piglets, so it's a lot different than just your average milk. Milk is then produced after the colostrum has run out, so it'll be about 36 hours until the end of weaning. So once piglets start to suckle, they will use the same teat or the same pair of teats until weaning. So each teat has a different taste for the piglets. So this is just a quick video of piglets nursing and what that would sound like from the sow. So by that barking, she's alerting the piglets that she is letting down milk and that it's time to eat. So they will get up from their nap and then they will start nursing. So the sow and piglet environment is very different in a farrowing house. So the sow wants it to be around 60 to 65 degrees to keep, so it's very important to keep them cool during the summer months with using fans or a drip water system, because if a sow gets overheated before she has farrowed, or even if she is lactating, then it can be very, very detrimental and deadly for the piglets and the sow. So the piglets want it to be around 75 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So that can be achieved by heat lamps or heated mats or both. So in that way they're closer to the ground, and they also have usually a solid wall around them, so it can be warmer down at the bottom, but as you're blowing fans on the top for the sows. So the piglets, just like any small animal or baby, they want it to be warm because they had always been in the womb where it's warm. So they like to have it a lot warmer than the sow. So you can tell if piglets are too cold or too hot based on where they lay down to sleep or where they're being active. So if it's too cold, the piglets will be huddled up underneath the heat lamp or the heat mat together to try to stay warm, and they may be shivering. If it's too hot, the piglets will be spaced out away from the heat lamp and trying to lay down in the corners away from other piglets. This picture shows a pretty good representation of a good temperature. So they're not too crowded and they're not too spread out. They're pretty comfortable laying around the heat lamp. They seem happy. So processing piglets typically happens about 24 hours after farrowing, and it can vary based on the farrowing times as well. So the piglets processing is done for various steps done for different reasons, and not all operations use all of these steps. This is just kind of the general steps that are done. So first, the piglet may be weighed to calculate the litter weights for record keeping and for knowing how the sow is producing. The teeth are typically cut to reduce injury while fighting, and it's also less pain on the sow's udder when they're nursing, because the piglet's teeth are very, very sharp. Ear notching or ear tagging is used to identify the individual piglets. So if there are 15 piglets in a crate, you can know which pig is which based on their ear notch or their ear tag. And then the iron shot prevents anemia, and so it's really important that a lot of pigs have issues with. And a quick iron shot will prevent that and keep them healthy. Docking of the tail eliminates tail biting and further infection. So sometimes piglets will bite each other's tails, and so that can lead to infection and potentially death if it's bad enough. Castration of males doesn't always happen when piglets are being processed. Sometimes some operations wait 3 days, or if you're doing show pigs, sometimes they wait even like a month or 2. It all just depends on your personal preference. And some males are not castrated at all. They're kept as boars, so it really just depends. So spraying with iodine at the end helps heal all the wounds before infection and just helps them keep healthy. So the top right picture would be what is used to cut the teeth, and a very similar kind of side cut, but a little bit larger, is used for the tails and castration. On the top right is the ear notcher, so it's just kind of a V-shaped cut that takes out the ear notch, and the bottom picture is just the label of the iron that is injected. Here is a quick video of a typical processing that not all steps are done in all operations, but kind of the standard steps. So here they're cutting the teeth. So there's teeth on top and bottom and both sides of the mouth. So I think there's 2 teeth at each location. The next is ear notching. So each section of the ear corresponds to a number. So you can add up all the numbers from the notches to get a final number out of. So there's a litter side and an individual side. And then a quick iron shot, about 1 cc of iron is given, and some places do an additional booster shot at weaning. It just depends. So that was the docking of the tails, and here is the castration. Just do a quick cut and then just pull out the testicles. And so here's a spray of iodine just to heal all those wounds, and then quick on the umbilical cord just to make sure that it's all healed. So cross-fostering is typically done after processing, just so that the piglets already have their ear notches so we can tell which piglet is from which sow. So it's done to have an even distribution of the piglets. So for example, if you had 2 sows farrow one day, but sow A has 16 piglets and sow B has 8 piglets, 4 piglets from sow A will be cross-fostered onto sow B, so that both sows have 12 piglets. It makes it a lot easier for the sow that has 16 piglets. Maybe not all of those piglets will be able to nurse because she probably doesn't have 16 teats. And sometimes when you have 16 piglets fighting for maybe 12 teats, the smaller, weaker piglets probably will die off just because they are not getting the amount of milk that they should be. So this also reduces the piglet weight variation. So if sow B has really small piglets, the smallest of sow A piglets will be taken from her and put onto sow B. So that way, most of sow B's piglets and sow A piglets have like about the same weight. So that, yeah, like I said, this also matches the sow's ability to raise the piglets by matching the number of piglets to the number of teats. And cross-fostering is done before the piglet is 48 hours old. After 48 hours, they shouldn't be cross-fostered because they have already gotten the taste of the milk from the teat. So if you change that, they will probably go off milk. So a piglet can be put on a sow that has farrowed more than 48 hours ago, but you just can't take any off of that litter. Scouring is a big problem in the farrowing house. It is a big diarrhea in piglets, and it's kind of a yellow color as seen in the picture here, and is very easy to transmit by people. So people don't get it, but if you step in a crate with a litter that does have scours, and then step into another crate that doesn't have scours, they will probably get scours just from the bacteria being transmitted. And if you handle the piglets that are scouring, such as processing them, and then handle healthy piglets, you will probably also be spreading the scours. So if you are processing processing 5 litters one day, and one of them has scours, you want to do the scours litter last, and you want to disinfect all of your instruments for processing afterwards to make sure that you don't spread the scours. And it typically resolves on its own, but if a piglet is really sick and dehydrated, treating with electrolytes is if necessary. So if a piglet is really starting to lose a lot of weight and not looking so good, so you can treat with electrolytes or an injection. Thanks for watching.